All right, here goes. Buckle up, grab your irony helmet, and let's parachute into the weirdness that is American politics over the past week. So first up, why this week matters. Because if US politics were a TV show, this week was when the producers said, let's throw in a coup attempt, a government shutdown, and maybe some tariffs for spice. And yes, viewers, the ratings are through the roof, unfortunately for democracy. The stories that bubbled up aren't just gossip, they're subtle pressure tests on institutions, norms, and how far a would-be strongman can push before someone yells, cut.
So let's sprint through the headlines, then dig deep into the juiciest ones with sarcasm and occasional hope.
In the fast roundup, first, the government is still shut down, with funding fights over healthcare and border policy paralyzing federal programs. Then there's talk of invoking the Insurrection Act, yes, that 1807 throwback if disorder in some cities doesn't get reined in. Meanwhile, Trump has ratcheted up punitive federal actions against Democratic states, cutting or delaying funds to places like New York and Illinois. There's also a freshly indicted Democratic Attorney General, Letitia James, accused of fraud, in what many see as retaliation. And topping it off, conservative influencer Nick Sorter was arrested in Portland. Days later, he was embraced at a White House event, as the administration leans hard into the anti-Antifa narrative. Oh, and tariffs. Trump floated 100% tariffs on Chinese goods, prompting global backlash. That's your BuzzFeed. Now buckle for the deep dives. Let's start with the Insurrection Act gambit. On October 12th, Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters the administration is looking at all options, including invoking the Insurrection Act to deploy military forces domestically.
That's not casual posturing, that's flirting with martial law. The justification? Rising crime in cities like Chicago and courtroom blocks on the National Guard deployment in Democratic states.
The analogy here, it's like your bully neighbor threatening to smash your windows because your garden gnome moved. The danger is less real than the intimidation. The consequence is profound. Once you authorize domestic military deployment, even hypothetically, the line between policing and militarization blur.
The strongest counterargument. Sure, presidents have used this law in extreme cases, but we aren't living in 1862.
Courts have repeatedly ruled that the act is subject to tight limits and oversight. The administration's response: this is different, we're under siege, which is the deflationary version of you're just too soft.
Punchline: threatening troops at home is like telling your cat, if you don't behave, next time I'll bring in a rhino. Next, the funding cuts to Democratic states. Over the past week, Trump's administration has withheld or canceled billions in infrastructure, health, and energy funding to states that voted blue, while protecting projects in red states. That means bridges, clinics, schools in blue zones get delayed or killed. It's distributive punishment disguised as fiscal discipline. Let me paint a metaphor. It's like a landlord cutting off your heating because you called him out on mold, then sending heat to the neighbor instead. Real-world consequences. Weakened public services in already vulnerable areas, buttressing the red/blue divide. The counterargument: financing decisions must be merit-based. Some projects in blue states were allegedly wasteful. The retort: merit is being applied asymmetrically, and when you weaponize federal budgets to reward your base, you stop running a government and start running a fiefdom. Punchline: this is fiscal favoritism with a cold heart and colder calculators. Welcome to our weekly news commentary, where we dissect the latest political events with a healthy dose of satire. Then there's the Letitia James indictment. On October 10th, a grand jury in Virginia charged New York AG Letitia James with mortgage fraud, a single count. James denies wrongdoing, says it's a clerical error. But this comes after she led a civil suit that extracted $500 million from Trump, a judgment later overturned. Many see this as weaponizing DOJ against political enemies. Consequence: chilling effect, future prosecutors may think twice before suing powerful figures. The fairest counterargument: no one is above the law. If James erred, she must face consequences. But given the timing and pattern, the response is skepticism. If you're using felony indictments like darts at political targets, your justice system turns into a carnival game. Punchline: we may soon have a nation where legal accountability is less about law and more about partisanship.
Switching gears, Nick Sorter's arrest and cozy White House welcome. Conservative influencer Sorter was arrested during a protest in Portland.
Days later, he's at a White House roundtable being cheered by DHS. The sequence reads like, stage protest, arrest, martyr, official platform. That's a textbook political theater. The consequence, it normalizes the idea that protest, arrest, and applause are part of the political performance circuit. Counterargument: influential voices deserve access to policy conversations. But when arrests become promotions, you invert justice. Punchline: get arrested protesting? You too might end up on the guest list. Lastly, the tariff bombshell. Trump floated imposing 100% tariffs on Chinese goods starting November 1st. That's not negotiation, that's all-in escalation. China warned of retaliation. Economists warn US industries could take a $7 billion hit. Metaphor: it's like trying to play chicken by driving full speed toward your own car. Consequence: supply chains scrambled, inflation likely reignited, adversaries provoked. Counterargument: trade leverage is legitimate. Sometimes you need to threaten to get concessions. But when your threat is so extreme it's economically suicidal, leverage becomes bluster. Punchline: in trade wars, sometimes you're the one waving the white flag halfway through. All right, we're nearing the finish line. Recap and slightly less bleak hope. This week exposed a blueprint. Bully via budgets, intimidate with troops, prosecute selectively, stage your propaganda, and threaten economic upheaval. That's a playbook for power, not governance. And yet, and here's the spark, these moves are so transparent that resistance is coalescing. Judges are blocking deployments, state officials are suing, media are calling out maneuvers, protests are happening. The system isn't broken yet, it's under stress. So here's what to watch next, whether courts, Congress, or state leaders push back effectively. Whether the risks of overreach force the administration to recalibrate. Whether voters, weary of the theater of power, demand substance over spectacle. And to circle back to that opening, this week matters because power is being tested. Not in the trenches, but in budgets, law, policing, and narrative.
If this is a TV show, we're at the season finale where the villain thinks he's won, but the hero might yet walk in.
Maybe next week brings a check, a clamp, democracy remembering itself. Or maybe not. But for now, we watch, we analyze, and we don't forget that satire remains a tool, not just to mock, but to warn.